All right, good morning, everyone. It is 10 o'clock, so we're going to get started. And I want to say, first off, thank you for joining us today for Delaware Commute Solutions, our info series number 23, Pedestrian Safety, with our guest speaker, Helen from the Dover Kent MPO. And my name is Amy Reardon. I am one of the outreach coordinators with Delaware Commute Solutions, and I'm joined with my team members, Kathleen Greer, who is the project manager, and fellow outreach coordinator, Arlene Beltran. So welcome again. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. And then also towards the end of the series, we will also open it up and you can unmute and ask any questions as well. But as you join, please go ahead and put your name and where you're joining us from. And we can advance to the next slide. So real quick, before we get into Helen's presentation, I just want to do a brief overview of Delaware Commute Solutions. And also just if we can remind everybody just to please mute so we don't get any background noise as well. Thank you. So Delaware Commute Solutions, who we are and what do we do? We are a free commuter service that is run through DART First State, which is the public transportation for Delaware. We work with employers, employees, students, higher education institutes, and our goal is to improve the air quality, but we're also assisting with transportation because our goal is to also take single occupant vehicles off of the road, which aids in traffic congestion, so it's going to decrease that. And then also that's what's going to help improve the air quality of Delaware. And we do this by encouraging all modes of clean commuting. And here we have our clean commute mode. So if you're doing any of these, thank you. If not, and you want to look at some other options on how to get to school or work, we can assist by planning your route out. But our clean commutes are carpooling, so sharing rides with fellow coworkers or students, biking and walking, which Helen's going to give us some great tips for walking as a pedestrian today because October is also Pedestrian Awareness Month. So that's why we are highlighting pedestrian safety. Also transit, so the DART buses as well as SEPTA. Compressed work weeks, when you're working a longer day, so longer shift time, you typically have an additional day off that you're not commuting. So that's why compressed work weeks are considered a clean commute. Van pooling, we work with Commute with Enterprise to help establish van pools at specific site locations. And teleworking or remote working, with I'm sure many of us have done recently. And this is for full or part-time, even seasonal. And Delaware Commute Solutions is open to anybody who lives, works, or goes to school in Delaware. So next slide, please. So I want to take a minute and introduce Helen. Thank you so much again for joining us as our guest speaker. Helen is the Public Outreach Manager for the Dover-Kent County MPO. She enjoys talking to people in Kent County and all over Delaware about transportation issues, infrastructure, and how the MPO can assist them. She was born and raised in Delaware, and she currently lives in Felton with her husband and 2 cats. And I just also want to say that the Delaware Commute Solutions team has worked with Helen on different events and things throughout the year. She is a great partner to work with, and she has some great information to share. So Helen, I am going to turn it over to you. And just a reminder, I see we have more people who joined us. If you have questions as we're going through, go ahead and put them in the chat. And then also towards the end, we'll open it up. So if you have any other comments or questions, feel free to unmute and join in on the conversation. So Helen, it is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I wanted to start out by just giving you a little overview about what an MPO is. I understand that there's a lot of people who don't really know what MPOs are, or what we do, or why you should care. So MPOs are federally mandated and mostly federally funded. We get 80% of our annual funding from the federal government. The rest comes from the state, and some of it comes from local. So what happens is the census, the United States Census, identifies certain areas as urban or urbanized areas. So when an urbanized area has a population of 50,000 or more people, that triggers an MPO to be started in that community. We do transportation planning. We help with policy making. We are all about infrastructure. It's everything you need to get from point A to point B, no matter what kind of transportation you use. So you're talking multimodal, you're talking cars, buses, transit, trains, planes, automobiles. You're talking roads, bike paths, walking paths, and everything else that you need. So we're talking autonomous cars, electric vehicles, air quality, all of that stuff. We also work with our partners to uh, to make sure that everyone is in compliance with some federal mandates regarding air quality, environmental justice, safety, economic growth, public mobility, and performance measures. Um, we coordinate with DelDOT, DART, the municipalities um, to prioritize projects and spending levels for federal funds designated for transportation projects. And we are always, as an organization, and of course me as a career within the organization, we are very, very focused in getting public input and making sure every voice gets heard. So if you ever have an issue and you don't know who to call, try calling your local MPO. In Newcastle County, that would be Wilmatco, which is the Newcastle County MPO. In Kent County, it would be us, the Dover Kent MPO. And so, next slide. So today we're going to talk about pedestrian safety. And I know everyone's thinking, I am a, an adult. I don't need to be told how to cross the street. But 7,668 pedestrian injuries or deaths in 2019. So we do have a problem with pedestrians dying on our roads. And so every once in a while, it doesn't hurt to come back and remind ourselves that, walking is a mode of transportation, and we do have to share the road with other modes of transportation. That means bikes, and that means cars. And cars are way bigger, way heavier, and go way faster than we can. So we have to always be aware. The majority of those injuries or deaths were in non-intersections, and the majority of them were at dusk or in the dark. So those are two things that obviously we're going to talk um, particularly about. So next slide. So first, let's just go back to basics. Everybody knows, look both ways, always cross at a crosswalk if it's available, and walk facing oncoming traffic. That is things we've known since kindergarten. But it doesn't hurt to hear it again, because what happens is when uh, when you're a kid, you hear it all the time, every day. Look both ways. Look left, look right, then look left again. Cross at the crosswalk. Uh, all of that stuff. But then when you get older, you don't hear it as often, and you also have all this other stuff on your mind. So you might be thinking about, what you need to get at the grocery store, or you might be thinking about an issue at work or whatever. And so you get to the corner and you don't even think, and you step out on the road. Next slide. There's also all these new distractions now. Headphones, watching your smartphone, all of that stuff. That is, it is so dangerous can you imagine driving your car? Let's just say, can you imagine driving your car with headphones in and you couldn't hear what was happening around you? No. But for some reason, people think that they are in no danger if they are walking with headphones in. And it is just as distracting. Also, watching your phone, texting while walking, um, playing your Candy Crush or your little phone game while walking. Yeah. Um, if you make eye contact with drivers when you're crossing the street, that gives you a sense that they know you're there. And So that is always a very good way to make sure that everybody knows that everybody's here. And so if the driver is glancing down at his or her phone too, and is unaware that you're crossing in front of them before they start to go, it helps too. So it helps if you make eye contact with drivers. Don't wear dark clothing at night. And I know that sounds like it should not be an issue, but um, if you drive at night, how many times do you see people on bikes or walking with all dark clothes? You have to be aware of what you're wearing when you are out on the road, because you are just a speck in the whole spectrum of everything that that driver is looking at. So you don't want to get lost and you don't want to camouflage yourself. This is the one place where you need to shine. Um, Carry a light or wear reflective material, um, and just don't wear dark clothing at night. And never walk impaired. There, uh, the majority of um, pedestrian accidents uh, in and around um, some urban areas. Uh, it always, or not always, but a lot of times it involves alcohol or drugs. You don't drink and drive, and you don't drink and drive because you know that your response times and um, you know, uh, your thinking is impaired when you have alcohol or drugs in your system. But you haven't, a lot of people have no problem walking. But if you're walking impaired, you're making those same judgment calls. So you might look and see a car barreling at you at 50 miles per hour and think, oh, no, I can make it. And you start across the street. Next slide. So, um, all of those things, never wear dark clothing, never walk impaired, all of that stuff. Um, but there are a lot of other things that we don't necessarily think about when we are walking down the street. Um, Delaware has a lot of roads that even Route 13 and 113 have driveways that open up to the highway. So if you're walking, even if you're walking down a bike path or a shoulder on a major highway, um, be aware of driveways and parking lots and people exiting, people who are going in and out of stores or homes on the highway. Look for cars in all directions, including those that are turning. So if you're at an intersection, obviously you're going to look left and right and left again um, to see if there are cars coming. But look here to see if there's cars that are going to be turning, or if anybody is so like if you're crossing the street here and someone's going this way, making sure that they aren't turning and they'll turn into you. Walk on sidewalks where they are available. And that's one of the things that the MPO does is we're working with municipalities and with DelDOT, and we're working on connectivity and we're working on getting more sidewalks and making it easier for pedestrians. So if you walk somewhere a lot and you think, this is like a major walking place. This is how I go to get to my local market, or this is where I just like to walk for exercise or whatever, but I walk this a lot and we don't have a sidewalk and it makes me very nervous with cars coming, then go ahead and give us a call and let us know, or I'll talk about Map It at the end. Find out about Map It and use Map It to to log the area and let us know that it needs a sidewalk. The other thing is always, always, always teach your kids and younger people you know how to walk safely, because children and teenagers obviously make a big portion of the pedestrian accidents every year. Part of that is because, you know, they walk more than we do. A lot of them walk more than a lot of us, or me. All right, it's me. But they so there are a lot more kids on the street than adults. But the other thing is, you know, kids with the phones and the headphones and the distractions. It's very, very important that we teach our kids to be safe all the time. Next slide. And if you are driving, if you are behind the wheel, look for pedestrians everywhere all the time. Be vigilant. Uh, like I said, some streets aren't lit as well. There are people walking in dark clothing. There are people biking in dark clothing. So that is very important that you are aware of your surroundings at all times. Use extra caution when driving in at night or during the rain or in the fog. All of those kinds of weather conditions can make pedestrians harder to see. Whenever you come up on a crosswalk, you should slow down, look, make sure there's nobody stepping into the street, because a lot of people, they'll be very vigilant. If they're not at a crosswalk, they'll look left and right and left again. But if they get to a crosswalk, they go, I have the right of way, and they'll walk into the street. Never pass vehicles at a crosswalk, and that is a problem. I see it all the time. If someone is stopped at a crosswalk, assume that they're stopping at a crosswalk for a pedestrian. Don't think, this person doesn't see that the light's green, or this person doesn't know how to drive, and so you whip around them. Of course, never drink and drive. That's obvious. Like I said, we all obviously know not to drink and drive. We have to learn also probably not to walk and drive, or not to drink and walk. So follow the speed limit, especially on in neighborhoods and places like that. You know, the MPO is doing a lot of work in the smaller municipalities right now. We have something called a parklet, and we take it out into the municipalities for street fairs and stuff like that. And we set it up, and it's we use a parking space and we turn it into a green space for people with benches and tables um, and some fun little games and stuff that people can play. So what we're hearing a lot in these little towns is, you know, it's 25 through town, but nobody does 25 through town because they assume that there's no law enforcement, you know, because we're a small town. Law enforcement is not what should be preventing speeding through small towns. What should be is the fact that these little towns is is full of people who walk from place to place, you know, and a lot of those people are young people. And if you hit somebody at 25 miles per hour, they are going to be hurt. But if you hit them at 40 miles per hour, they are probably not going to survive. So that is the difference between speeding through town and doing the speed limit. Follow slower speed limits in school zones and where you know children are present, when you can see children present. That includes when you see a school bus. Never pass a school bus with the stop sign out. Never, ever, ever pass a school bus, because that means there's a kid somewhere around that bus. And be extra cautious when backing up anywhere, even in a parking lot, because pedestrians can move in your path very, very quickly. Next slide. So I know that all of this seems very basic, and it seems very elementary, but the fact of the matter is it doesn't hurt to hear it again and again and again, and to constantly put in our heads how we can always be safe and always be vigilant. And we can make that 7,700 basically deaths a couple years ago go down and down and down until it's zero. That's, the federal government has an initiative called Zero Deaths, and they want us, even though, we understand that accidents always happen and people are always put in weird situations, and, you can't legislate silliness or anything, but if we're always striving for zero, chances are we're going to get a lot lower than we are. So that's where we are. And like I said, the MPO is working with state agencies and municipalities to make the streets safer. That could be better lighting. It could be wider streets. It could be more sidewalks. It could be repair on sidewalks. It could be any of those things. So we have an app, and it is called Mapit, Mapitt. 1P, 2Ts, Mapit. If you go on the Apple Play Store or the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, and you look up Mapit, Mapitt, by Dover Kent MPO, it'll come right up. You download it onto your phone. It is a very small app. It does not take up a lot of room. It doesn't take a lot of permissions. You you open it up whenever you're out and about. If you open it up, it takes about 20 seconds to log a transportation issue, whatever it may be. And and if your GPS is on, it'll automatically load your location, and you can snap a picture and it'll send us the picture. And like I said, it takes like 20 seconds to log your issue and send it to us. And so we would love to have you download Mapit and use it when you're out on your walks, especially if you find that there are issues that need to be addressed to make walking safer where you walk. That is my presentation. So please, if anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them.
All great information, Helen. Thank you so much. And just, I did put in the chat, I put the Dover Kent MPO website, and I also put where they can get the information for Mapit as well. So hopefully those who are on, you could go right over there and check out the information Helen was talking about. And if there are any questions, please go ahead and put them into the chat, and whether it's for Helen or for myself for Delaware Commute Solutions. And we'll just give it a few seconds to see if there's some questions. And then I just have a few more minutes of information to share with you, but I think I see someone typing, so we'll give a minute. But Helen, I love the parklet idea. I know we've talked about it in the past.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to seeing it in person soon one day. So, and that's something too, if somebody's interested in having you come out with the parklet, they can reach out to you about that too, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, great. And we have a thank you from Kelly, and thank you for joining us as well. And I'm going to start going through the slides. So one thing I just want to remind everybody is Delaware Commute Solutions. If you're returning to the office, if you're staying home and teleworking, we can help with benefits, or we can help with, helping to provide hybrid and flex scheduling. So if you have any questions about that, we do have it all together on our website, DelawareCommuteSolutions.org, excuse me. And you could go to the resources and hit return to office, and we'll have that information. You could always reach out to us too. We do have a comment that says Mapit looks great. DelDOT has a report and pedestrian condition application on the del.gov site. Thank you so much for sharing that information. That's great to have that too, Tom. Thank you for that information. And we could go to the next slide. One thing I want to remind everybody too, if you are a member of Delaware Commute Solutions and you're already recording, you will be entered into our Track or Treat. We have to have fun with fall and Halloween. So Track or Treat ends on the 25th. All you have to do is record a clean commute. If you're not registered with Delaware Commute Solutions, just go to our website, or you could download our app as well and get registered for the program. Any clean commute that you do between October 1st to the 25th and you record it, you're going to get your points for the rewards that we have, but you'll also be entered into our Track and Treat mystery reward raffle. So please go ahead and do that. And then next slide. I just said to register if you're not registered, but this is how you do it. If you're not registered, just go right to our website, or you could download our app and you can register that way. It is simple and quick, and then you're all set to go for customized commute planning, our guaranteed ride home benefit, as well as our rewards that you get when you record your clean commute. And last slide, I believe, is a final thank you. Thank you all for joining and also for sharing information. Helen, it's all great information. Like you said, we hear it constantly as children, and when we grow up, we don't hear it as much. So it's good to have those reminders. Unfortunately, we do hear of accidents, and when it's a car versus a pedestrian, we know who's going to be injured in that case. So
Right.
hearing these tips and also having the MPO where we could take concerns, especially when it involves any form of transportation, is great information and a great reminder to have. So I appreciate you joining us today and sharing all that good information with us.
Thank you very much.
And just as a reminder, November 19th is our next info series. We will be discussing Restore the Corridor updates, and that is the I-95 construction through downtown Wilmington. So there will be some updates. So great information, even if you don't maybe work in the Wilmington area, but many people do travel that area of 95. So it's important to know what's going on there. So save the date for November 19th. And I want to wish you all a safe and happy weekend. Thank you again, Helen. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good one.
Thank you.